I'm Bill Anderson, and this is Mary Jo Thompson Brown and Hugh Brown with me here on the lawn at Brown Oaks in Summersville, West Virginia. Mary Jo and Hugh grew up in this beautiful home along with their sister Betty. Their grandparents, Dr. Flavius Hugh Brown and Elizabeth Huff Brown, lived in the house that they built in the early 1920s. Flavius practiced medicine in Summersville for more than 2 decades, and he must have been an inspiration because his sons also became doctors. Mary Jo and Hugh are the children of one of those sons, Flavius Brown Jr., and his wife, Josephine Hill Brown. Their parents purchased the home from their grandmother, Elizabeth, and Mary Jo and Hugh, along with Betty, grew up here. What do the two of you remember about how Brown Oaks looked when your father purchased the home?
Well, really we could see only to that tree right there, but these homes that were along Wilderness Road belonged to the Dietz family, the Hypes family, and the Hamilton family. They were originally meant to face Wilderness Road, and when 19 went through, now the backs of their homes are looking at 19.
So this whole area right here, just in front of the house, was as far as you could see. And the rest were, built up brush there and all down through here. You couldn't see much of anything, really.
There were building-sized rhododendrons up here, native and hemlock.
Wow.
And we had a lower garden down below those
here.
trees and an upper garden.
Up here.
Yep.
And you'd mentioned an orchard.
The orchard was, you can't see it from here, but was back up here. We had primarily apple trees, and I can't remember what else was up there.
Peach and cherry.
And yeah, it was
Lots of work.
a lot of work, a lot of grass to mow, but I think it kept us out of trouble.
This porch was entirely different. It was a one-story porch with red brick posts on the corners and red brick sides. The stone steps are original. They were quarried on site. So was the stone for the foundation on the corner down that way. And our parents just wanted to dress the house up a little bit, so they had an architect, Emery Mick from Charleston, who designed the porch, and it's as you see it now.
Your father purchased the house from his mother about what year?
54.
1954.
Right.
And before your grandfather built the house in 1923, there was a former structure on the property?
There was a house on the upper lawn that actually, the front of it was this way, not this way, and we never saw it. We never saw a picture of it, but they lived there for probably a year or two while this house was being built. We have a photograph of the house with the scaffolding still on it, being finished right before they moved in. Yeah.
That's lovely. Should we go inside?
Sure.
All right.
Let's go.
So this is your family's beautiful drawing room. Mary Jo, you and I were in this room a couple of summers back while you were hosting a family gathering. You'd asked me to place an extra table in front of these big, beautiful windows. When you saw the table, you remarked that it made you remember your mother often placing a table in the very same spot for her bridge parties.
Right.
And your smile that you made when you made that remark, it made me think that there must have been some really fun times in this room.
Oh.
When you see it today, what other fun times do you remember?
Well, Christmas and Thanksgiving and out on the porch on Sundays and almost every night in the winter, people and lots of laughter and fun, yeah.
Hugh, memories?
Well, I think she hit the Christmas for sure. I mean, because it was always a big time in here at Christmas time. But then we played cards in here and games, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good time.
Did you traditionally put the tree in one spot?
It was
Usually over there.
Oh, toward the back?
In the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Because we had to have the TV.
The TV with the tree. Yeah.
And we had lots of fun putting trees up that would fall.
Oh, okay.
So we'd put them up 2 or 3 times in the same year. But usually it was in
That's
that
true.
corner. Yeah.
Have you seen the Christmas event
Yes.
here?
Yeah,
You-
really
you
neat.
pay 30 trees?
Yeah, about
In
30
this
trees
house?
on the second floor. Yeah, and another
Oh,
10 or
gosh.
12 downstairs.
It's
Really, really
beautiful.
pretty.
It's lovely. Yeah.
It really makes us so happy to see the house being used the way it's used by Summersville. How many people get to visit their childhood home? You know, not very many.
That is a nice thing.
And
I'm glad
we
you
do.
feel that way.
Yeah, we do.
It's just beautiful.
Well, let's step out on the side porch and take a look at the lawn.
Okay.
Isn't this an impressive lawn to see from this point of
It
view?
is. It really is.
Really, really pretty.
I'm sure that your family must have enjoyed using this big, beautiful porch.
We did. We had a wicker swing across the end, so we never used that door onto the porch, and all the rest of this was filled with rocking chairs, all painted white with blue and white cushions,
Oh,
just like the china.
oh, the blue and blue Danube and blue willow.
Time together.
It's a pretty effect.
It is.
Tell me about what used to be in the lawn here.
How about the
Well,
minipool?
Not much. Early on, it was just these 3 trees here that I remember. But then my dad put a minnow pool right at the base of these stairs, so we wouldn't have to go fishing and getting minnows from somebody else. And so it was only about a foot deep, and I think at one point he getting minnows out of there fell and broke his leg,
Oh, man.
which was not a good deal.
So you
but-
collect your
but-
bait and fish down on Golly?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Over near Gad, near Sparks?
No, not so much there. More so down on the other side of Craigsville,
Oh,
Golly River there. So the Gad area wasn't there yet because the dam wasn't finished yet.
okay.
So we didn't
Well,
do much
and
fishing there.
He also fished Williams and River and
Yeah.
Cherry and Elk and a lot of rivers.
I see.
Yeah, right.
And you have family connections in the Craigsville way, is that
Yes,
correct?
some of
Yeah,
them
we
were
did.
born there. Most of
Yeah.
Daddy was, and his
His dad was from there.
dad was born in Birch River. Our grandfather
Right.
was, but most of their 9 children were born in Craigsville, and then they moved here, and had 3 more.
So 3 of the 9 were born here.
Yes.
Nice. Now, you said there was a garden?
Yeah.
The lower garden started just behind these 3 big oak trees, and it went all the way to the tree line. You see that was the Kincaid property,
Okay.
And
and it was a big garden. The upper garden was big too.
and there was nothing down on that side. There, we did plant pine trees down there, but for the most part, that was all
It was just
covered.
woods. It was woods because we only mowed we mowed a lot, but not as much as you mow today.
Yeah.
This is beautiful to see the rolling hills up here. It really is.
Yeah, we mowed initially to the 3 trees and to the trees that were here on the backyard, and then right out here, and then a little bit up here.
Okay.
But it continued to grow. So I don't know when we finished. When I finished living here, we probably mowed a couple, 2.5 acres or so.
All right.
It was a lot. I think that was by design to keep me out of trouble, because as soon as I'd finished mowing
Took a
one
lot of
part, I'd
time.
have to start over again. But it was a lot of mowing.
Now, the property at this point is a little over 5 acres. Was that the same when you were?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what our
Here.
parents purchased, but it was originally 25-acre little farm.
Which direction did the land go?
Back.
All back
and
this
down,
way?
down to 39 and over past the clinic.
Oh,
What
okay.
was the
Awesome.
clinic.
It was,
And
yeah.
it's now the Christian school. Yeah.
Right, okay.
All
And
right.
it went down to the what you called the Kincaid property, and down here.
Went down this way to the creek, to Wilderness Road.
So you had garden, livestock ever?
We did not, no.
Your
But our
grandparents?
grandparents had a barn, and we had chickens and bees, lots of bees,
beehives.
Another way to keep him out of trouble.
That didn't work very well either. But we did have chickens. We had a rabbit at one point,
Yeah.
and it didn't last too long. But we had dogs.
It was all, the whole thing was to keep all of us in line every single morning of the year, all year round. There was a list on the kitchen table of what we were to do before Daddy got home from work.
And my chore, most of it was, Old Wilderness Road was not paved.
Nor was the
And
driveway up
none
there.
of this. So we had to keep the potholes filled. So
Napping
we'd
rock.
always have a full pile of gravel, and my friends and I had to do that year round. So, but that worked. It was all good.
With a garden and an orchard, your grandmother probably canned.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Okay.
Some of her canned goods were still on the shelves in the basement from 1935 when we moved in here in 1954. We decided they probably weren't any good.
They were seasoned.
We all canned. We canned when we were here too. I remember doing canned tomatoes and tomato juice and grape jelly and cherry jelly and
Yeah.
putting up honey in jars with labels on
Yeah.
labels with your name on them.
Yep. My first employment. Selling honey.
Maybe we should take a look at the kitchen and see where all
Okay.
that canning happened.
Okay.
Great.
So we're in the kitchen at Brown Oaks, and this room has changed a lot since the city
has.
bought it in 2000.
And all for the better.
Oh, okay. I know there had been a fire and
Yes.
all kinds of things that made it necessary for the room to be really renovated. How did it used to look?
Well, this door was over about 4 feet, and the big sink was here. The pantry's in the same place.
Yeah,
I don't know how my grandmother or my mother fed people in here because the door was where the refrigerator is. Then there was a great big rocking chair, then a huge roll-top desk, then the stove,
Oh my gosh.
then a round table this wasn't here, a round table that came, and they were all constantly, here's the sink, got chopped stuff there, then cooked stuff here, oh, the refrigerator's over there, we better go in. It was a constant traffic, and the kitchen was always full of
It was a
people.
melting pot of people.
I know.
I mean, this is where
It
everybody
would
came.
have driven me crazy.
No one ever used the front door, but they sure used
Yeah,
it.
if someone came
Okay.
to the front door, you knew it was a total stranger, because everybody came in the kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all of that canning was going on in here and feeding everyone. It
Lots
sounds
of
busy.
canning. I mean, I can't even imagine how much they canned.
Where would the canned goods be stored? In the
In the
pantry
basement.
or in the basement? Okay, in the
Downstairs, some
basement.
back there, but primarily downstairs.
So there was a pantry.
The pantry was bigger because Patty had to have a handicap accessible bathroom in this house. So she took part of the pantry and part of the back porch to make a handicap accessible bathroom. But the pantry, my gosh, it was a wreck too. There were no lower cabinets at all.
Okay.
There were just upper cabinets, and they opened out onto the countertop, so you couldn't have anything on the countertop because the
You
doors
couldn't
opened.
open the door.
The refrigerator opened on the wrong side, so it opened from the window around instead of into the room. Everything you
Gosh.
can imagine that would make a kitchen inefficient, we
Worked.
had.
True.
In the table you said before, it was a rectangular table?
It was round. It was a big round table.
Ours was round, it was big, it seated 8 people, but grandmother's was a rectangle that was narrow and came probably back to here because she was feeding 11 people
Wow.
at this table. She didn't use the dining room as a dining room, it was a den.
Really?
I couldn't believe it when
This
I
is
was-
your mother?
My grandmother.
Your grandmother?
Yes, she had a den in there, and I remember it really well, with a little sofa and my grandfather's chair right by the fireplace.
Wow.
And when we moved in here, our living room was needing work, and
Okay.
so this was our living room. And we had our first Christmas tree was in there. It was our living room.
Let's go in the dining room and look at it.
Oh, okay.
These dining room windows on the southern corner of the house bring in so much sunshine. I know there have been many changes since the city of Summersville bought the house. Changes making it more accessible and accommodating and getting it on the National Register of Historic Landmarks. What was this room like when you were growing up here? You made mention of how you used this as a parlor or a den.
Our grandmother used this as a den. She didn't ever have dining room furniture in here, and so the first year we moved here, we used it as a living room while the living room was being painted and so forth. But the house had settled around the fireplace and the floor sloped down so that these cupboards couldn't be opened. And my parents just paneled over that and painted it with enamel, and it actually looked pretty good. But when the city bought it, I was so thrilled they got a carpenter in here and took down that paneling and made all these recessed, beautiful cupboards work. The main thing that's changed in here is the light fixture and the furniture. We had a huge corner cupboard back here that was handmade in the early 1800s on Mother's side of the family. In fact, there it is. That's her grandmother, Sarah Anna Catherine Rittenhouse, and it was her piece of furniture that sat here.
Oh, wow.
And her picture was in this room.
So it was her corner cupboard that was in this southern corner.
Right.
Wow.
You have to look out of the cupboard.
Right. There was a big chest of drawers over here. Mother didn't collect antiques. She scrounged antiques.
Okay.
And this chest
right
that's
here.
in my house now was on the back porch of Mr. and Mrs. Hanley White, the funeral director, and Mother spotted it on the back porch painted with white enamel and asked her if she could buy it. So she refinished it.
Okay.
Right. And then, yeah, that's about it.
What did your mom like to collect most in the way of antiques? Furniture?
I guess so.
All right.
This house was bigger than any homes we had lived in, and she needed things, and she liked antiques, so she found them various places.
Now, there are things in the built-in cupboards that were your mother's and your father's, your grandmother's.
Right.
Can you describe some of them?
The one on the right side is all my grandparents, and there are photographs and dishes and silverware that belong to them, and the one on the left side belong to my parents. There's pictures of them and their wedding, what are those called? The little piece of paper, you know.
The wedding certificate?
Thank
Like a
you,
license?
yes.
Marriage certificate.
And the dishes and the silver. Mother really liked blue and white dishes, and so that's what she had there.
And prayer books above.
Oh yeah, the Episcopal prayer books. My parents became Episcopalians in the mid-60s. They were active at St. Martin's in the Field here over at McKees Creek Road.
And before that?
Daddy was a Baptist and Mother was a Methodist. And
I ended up being Presbyterian for a while.
we all went to Presbyterian youth group.
Yeah.
We were a very ecumenical family, I guess.
Spread the wealth.
That's very good.
Right.
You know, it's really, oh, go ahead.
No, I think that this room, as far as Christmas time and Thanksgiving time, I mean, it was
Packed.
packed. Yeah. Good times in here.
Oh, tell them about the time that Daddy slid the turkey off in the floor.
Oh, I forgot about that. We had fire in here once as well.
Yeah, something caught fire.
In here and burned the table, and that was exciting. No one was hurt.
Good.
We survived. It was a good room.
And the turkey that came off?
Grandmother, guest of honor seat,
Oh, right.
his mother was here, and he was cutting the turkey on a regular turkey platter, and it just flew right in the floor.
Oh my gosh.
5-second rule, put it back on there.
That's true.
Nobody sees it.
You know, I think Mother just got a paper towel and wiped it off, and we kept right on going.
Kept going.
That's good. That's good. You
Good
know,
memories.
it's so impressive that your grandparents raised their 7 children here, and then you, or your parents, hosted a second generation with the 2 of you and your sister Betty. You still host events here for your
Yes,
friends and
we
your
do.
family.
We
Yeah.
do.
What are some of the things that your relatives love to recall? What do they talk about in the way of memories?
I think they were tickled to pieces that my parents bought the house because they got to come back here and
See it.
visit. Grandmother offered it to her oldest son first, who lived here, and he didn't want the house. And the next 2 were in the Eastern Panhandle, and Daddy was next. And so that meant that all of them could come and did
Yeah. A
for
lot.
various things. Yeah, we had a good time doing that.
A beautiful second act.
It really was.
Yeah.
It really was.
And
Right.
here we are in a third.
Yeah. Very, very well done.
So glad the city owns it.
Where should we go next? Is there anything that you specifically would like us to see and know about?
The wall in the basement.
There are a lot of people who
Is
would
that
never
okay?
forgive me if we didn't go there. Let's do that. So we're here in the basement stairwell, and there's a wall that's been preserved that local people always want to see when they come to visit Brown Oaks, because so many of them have their names here on the wall, or names of their relatives from the past.
Sure.
Is your name here on the wall somewhere?
Oh, about 10 times. It started with Daddy and his siblings just writing and drawing pictures, and it was pretty filled when we moved in here, but then you can see we took up every other inch. Everybody's boyfriend is on here. There's Bernadine Gross, and there's Jim Sutton. There's my nephew Palmer. All my children are on there. And so we have the old that goes way back. There's Mick Hughes at the top. All the way down to current day, people are still putting their name on this wall. It's very cute. We love it.
It's amazing that it's not been covered.
It really is.
You know,
it really is, yeah.
And you mentioned that because of the people who were involved in the restoration of the house, they knew to preserve it.
Well, Mike Hughes spent as much time in this house as he did his own house, Mick and Mike both. And Mike and Patty were one of the ones who spearheaded this, so they would not let this wall be painted. As ugly as it is.
Well, I'm glad it's here, and I can
Yeah.
give you a long list of names of people who are
Who
really happy it's
appreciate it.
still
Aw,
here.
Well, that's
Yeah.
great. I'm glad.
What else could you show me in the house? Anything on the second floor?
Sure. Let's see what's up there.
Let's do. So we're on the second floor at Brown Oaks, and this floor gets used for a lot of different things now. During weddings, the left-hand side, there are two rooms that are joined together, and the ladies use those two rooms to get ready for the wedding. Men use the room on the right. We had an art show last year, and this became part of the gallery.
Oh, I saw it. It was wonderful.
It was so nice.
It was.
And I'm hoping we can do that again, because it's a space that's really versatile. I feel like it does a nice job no matter what we ask of
Oh,
it.
that's nice. That's great.
Well, tell me how this floor looked when you were growing up here.
It hasn't changed that much. The light fixtures are much prettier. We had a huge wardrobe in the middle of the wall. It actually was built of chestnut to be used as someone's wardrobe in a bedroom, but my grandmother used it for a linen closet, and so did my parents.
And you say it was a chestnut piece of furniture.
Mhm. It's in my kitchen now with food and stuff in it.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Were there other bookcases here in the hall?
the
or?
bookcases were at the end of the hall. They went all the way up and across. There were never enough places to put books. So that was, yeah, and
Okay.
they were not original to the house. My parents built those, so
Any chairs, any settees, anything like that?
No, there really wasn't any furniture up here except for this one piece of furniture. My sister and I shared this room on the corner. Daddy's two sisters, there were only two girls of the 9 children, shared that room, so it seemed logical for us to share it too.
The girls' room.
Yep, that was the girls' room, and then later Hugh got that room when we were up and out. The room down here, the darkest room in the house, was Mother and Daddy's room, and it was my grandparents' room. And then these rooms, I cannot believe what I saw when I walked in these rooms as a child, because there were so many kids in this house. These two rooms both had 2 sets of double beds.
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine?
That's a lot of furniture.
And in the summertime, grandmother's people would come to visit, and she would send those boys up to the bedrooms over the garage, which were hot as blue blazes, so that her people could have, I mean, she had people everywhere in the
Wow.
summertime. It was incredible.
So the garage, the second floor, that served as bedroom for your uncles at one point.
Yes.
Is that correct? Your father and your uncles? And then even later it was still a space that was used as
It was used
surplus
for
bedroom?
junk, I think.
Oh, okay.
Mainly junk. It was built as an apartment in case they ever wanted to have some couple live up there and help with the farm. But they never finished it off. So, but that building, interesting, was built from materials that were when the old house was torn down.
The old house that your grandparents lived in while this structure
on
was
the upper
being
lawn, right?
built.
That's the one. They used the wood and the brick. The brick foundation formed the brick, sort of a wood house on the back.
Yeah. Do you know where there's bricks? Are those Walker bricks?
They were fired here.
Here in Nicholas County?
Would that be Walker bricks? I bet
It's
it would.
possible. I've heard people have told me that Walker bricks was that Walker was a manufacturer of bricks in the late 1800s.
And they're still out there. Will we see that when we go outside?
I think maybe
Yeah,
we should.
The original. Yeah, that's pretty. And that's pretty much it for upstairs.
All right. One bathroom, right?
One bathroom for 11 people, but the powder room, you know.
A powder room on the first floor and a
They must have
proper
had to
bathroom
take
upstairs.
a number, you know. I just can't even imagine.
They made it
getting
work.
ready for school.
yeah. All right, maybe we should go take a peek at the carriage house then.
Okay,
Let's
that's
do
fine.
that. We're here in the carriage house now, and you say that most all this structure was built from the materials from the house that your family your grandparents'
Right.
family lived in when they first moved onto this property.
It is. They used everything they could. These two doors came off of Alderson Hardware, which was before the Harold and Harold Hardware.
Oh my gosh.
And that is Patty Harold Hughes's family. Her grandmother was an Alderson, and her father was a Harold.
And these doors came from that.
Came from the old Alderson Hardware.
And
I
it
hope
burned.
I have that right.
Yes. It burned in the 70s,
Yes.
early 70s. I'm glad they're here. I'm glad they could save them. They're beautiful.
I know. So originally this garage was, there were no carriages here. They didn't use carriages then. My grandfather had a car, and he was a really terrible driver. But maybe everyone was back then. You know, there wasn't any driver's ed.
Right. It's all new.
So he still rode a horse to go make house calls. And one really cute story is he was leaving someone's house, and his boots were covered with mud, and the patient said, oh, let me clean your boots off for you. And he said, no, I'd rather just ride through town on my horse with my boots looking like this, so people will look at me and say, oh, look, there goes poor old Doc Brown. He works so hard. Isn't that cute?
That is cute. Oh my gosh. How far would he go to see patients?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. The boys went with him sometimes. And,
All right.
Yeah. This little corner shelf right here, not the base, but the corner, is original. And it just had yard tools, clippers and stuff like that on it.
So it's
tackle.
It's a 3-bay garage.
It was a 3-bay garage, yes. And
Okay.
the center part was where we parked. We had one car. And the outer parts were just lawnmowers and golf clubs and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
And the bricks are from that house.
the bricks are from that house, and they were fired here in Summersville. And you said perhaps Walker brick?
Possibly.
And, right. These are old. I don't know how old that house was.
And it was taken down in the early 20s.
Yes.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
It is. I'm really glad they were saved.
I am too. I wish we had pictures of it. Wouldn't it be nice?
Oh, that house.
I know. Right.
Yeah. We're here in the gardens in back of Brown Oaks. And I just wonder, I'm out here doing a lot of work in pruning and weeding a lot. And I wonder, what did it used to look like here in this space?
Nothing like this. This is so fabulous. My grandparents and parents would be absolutely thrilled. They're thrilled already, I'm sure, just knowing that the city owns it. But there was a huge oak tree right here that was starting to rot, and a cavity was in it where the cats would stay.
Okay.
The driveway came straight, as it would, right up to the garage door. So this curve around has made it so you can get to a parking lot. And Mother was not a gardener. So there was none of this. This was grass. This is just spectacular. It really is.
Were there any flowers at all?
Oh yes, there were daylilies along the garage. There were lots of irises over here along the edge of the tree line. There were enormous forsythia shrubs and what's the red one?
Japonica?
Japonica. There were a lot of blooming things, flowering dogwood, but nothing that you would call flower beds. Well, actually, along this stone wall right here were bulbs and another little flower I can't remember the name of. But yeah, they've done Patty and her crew have done a beautiful job of this, and you do a great job keeping it nice and trim.
Well, it was established and it's a little easier to maintain than to get going right away.
So the garage itself, I wanted to say, was built from materials of the house that existed up on the upper lawn that they lived in while this one was being built.
That would have been in that direction there.
Yes.
All right.
And you see the wood now, but the back has red brick that was the foundation of that old house. So they really made use of every material they could get their hands on. The stairway that goes up to the apartment over the garage has Victorian fretwork on it that was off the old house. It's very cute.
So we're down in the lawn where the minnow pool was, right?
Right.
And on this stone foundation for the porch, there's a really interesting feature that we should talk about.
Well, it's kind of hard to see, but if you look closely, you can see the outline of this fish. And Mary Jo has the rest of this story.
The stonemason, most stonemasons have their mark, and that was the mark of the stonemason for this house, and it represents that he was a Christian. Isn't that cool?
That's very nice.
It is, it's very nice.
Mary Jo, Hugh, I want to thank you both so much for
You're so welcome.
sharing with me and everyone the memories you have of your family home and your grandparents' home. It's just it's so kind of you to share that with me.
It was our honor to talk about it and to hope that it encourages more people to use the house.
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks to you as well, and thanks to everyone in Summersville that's had anything to do with saving this and making it what it is today. It's just a remarkable team effort. And
it really is.
So thanks to everyone.
It is.
We're also lucky to have all of this in you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you.
You're
Yes.
welcome.